Hey everyone, welcome to Munching Monday, which is a thing we're doing during summer reading for the young adults and everything. But anyone is welcome to watch us. Today we're going to be talking about hardtack, and I'm probably going to pop in some stuff talking about hardtack here in just a minute.
Hardtack, a simple food made from only flour, salt, and water that was cheap and long lasting. This name comes from the British sailor slang for food, which was tack. It has gone by a myriad of other names such as cabin bread, ship's biscuit, and the list continues to go on from there. They were even once called tooth dullers, this name coming from the soldiers who ate it because it could, and sometimes did, break their teeth. It wasn't uncommon for soldiers to live mainly off of this food for months, although eventually scurvy might begin to develop due to the lack of vitamin C. Hardtack was the main food source because it was a way to feed armies using as few of resources as possible, as well as being easy to make and transport. The bakers intentionally tried to bake this bread as hard as possible so it would last longer, sometimes lasting even years if kept dry. If you were going to eat hardtack today, however, preferably in some soup to soften it up first, the options are fairly limited. One option is, of course, that you can use a recipe online, like I did, and make it yourself, or some countries even offer it available for purchase on store shelves. But here in the US, about 98% of it goes straight to Alaska. Check out our description for some links and resources and some pretty cool videos. And back to our video. Bye.
We have got our ingredients here, which the recipe that I have printed out, I have half just to make a small batch. I've got our oven heating up to 400 degrees, and I have got about a cup of flour. I got a little bit of extra just in case. It is all-purpose flour. You want to make sure you want to do that because you don't want self-rising, because making hardtack, we don't want it to rise. And then I have got some salt, and then I've got about a cup of water. So, all that being said, I'm going to use this bowl here for mixing my flour and my salt, and then if you guys want to come on over and we'll start the process of making it. So we've got our flour, and I've got my salt measured out on this. I went roughly with about 2 teaspoons, and we'll mix it all up. And once we get it mixed up well, we're going to start stirring in the water. And the recipe says you want a dough that sticks together but isn't tacky. You can always add more water if you need to. So we're just going to start slowly adding the water. Mixing a little bit as we go. Starting to kind of take dough form a little bit more. And while I'm working on this, I will tell you, I've went ahead and put some flour on my pan that I'm going to be basically cutting this up in the right shape and everything. Okay. Right, so we're going to stop there for just a second. Okay, so I've got my flour on my pan here, and I'm going to get a little bit of the flour on my hands just in case I have to help it out of the bowl. But I'm going to put our flour mixture on there. And there is one of two ways you can do this. You can either just use your hands and kind of pat it out, or you can use something like a cup. we'll start out with doing it with our hands. I was gonna do the cup, but we'll do it this way. Where the dough is kind of wet, I use some water to help it not stick to my hands as much. And we'll kind of get it a little bit thin. That way, it's not exactly going to be real pretty, but it will be okay. Because we just need a small batch for our little oven here. At this point, I might use the cup to make it a little smoother, a little pretty. And I wet the cup before I started doing this too, that way it didn't stick. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use the cup again, and we're going to cut them out. Kind of looks like a little biscuit. Okay, and we'll stop for a second and I will get my pan greased and we'll move them over. Okay, so I did a test move on one of these. It's kind of just, it looks like somebody's taking a bite out of it, but that's okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to another one, and I'm just using this little spatula here, which I thought I'll wet it and see if that doesn't help the moving process. I might have gotten it a little bit thin, but that'll be okay. So we'll just kind of maneuver them over. They'll be kind of differently shaped, not exactly perfectly round. And you can also cut these in just a square, kind of like what we're used to a cracker being. Which actually reminds me, I saw one video where a guy was being very much let's say very outdoorsy with it, because he actually used a stick to poke his holes in. But since I'm inside and don't have a stick, I will probably just use a straw, a knife, or a toothpick. And I'll just kind of make some little holes around in it. Okay, so I ended up, the toothpick wasn't working real well. I'm using a straw to make the holes. That way you can actually see them a little bit better. I think, let my dough get a little bit too tacky, but we're still going to try it and see how it turns out. And you guys can always learn from my mistakes. And then after this, we will be ready to pop these in the oven, which I have already been preheating to 400 degrees. And it's supposed to take 45 minutes to an hour. So we will move these into the oven, and then I'll see you guys later. So our hardtack has finished. This is actually several hours later, and we have our finished product. So that is how you make your very own hardtack, and it's something you don't necessarily want to just pick up and eat, because I figure you can probably hear that. That's not exactly something you want to pick up and buy, you know. So that's all, and we'll see you the next time. Bye.